Go ahead.
Like,
Sometimes when they like down here at the bottom, there's a bad connection.
Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Sound kind of far away. Ms. McCowan, can you hear Ms. Watts?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can.
Is it clear?
Yes.
So you just got to speak up and can't touch it.
I'll speak up.
All right.
Jack Jackson?
Yeah, come on. Let's see, Madam Court Reporter, are you there? Good morning. So.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry. Our officer is actually in the hospital on the drill. Five. So we asked for a reset.
Oh, okay.
First, I'm going to object to that because we've been waiting for.
You want to put on the, for the court reporter?
Oh, sorry about that.
Hey, Madam Court Reporter, here you go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You want to start over? Talk loud enough for the court reporter.
Okay.
So this is about position 5, Jarrell Williams, 22 CP 211971. Go ahead.
The head officer and Detective Lindsay is actually in the hospital, Your Honor. I don't know when he'll be released. He's in the hospital right now.
One, I hope he's okay. Go ahead, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. We do hope that that officer is okay. But once again, this has been a prelim hearing that we have been waiting for roughly 3 to 4 months on. So we would ask that we be able to move forward without that head officer, and we would object to it being reset.
All right. Well, I mean, obviously the officer's in the hospital. I mean, I know you said no idea, and I hope he or she is better. How far out do you want to, is there an alternate officer that you can get if you reset it? Oh, that's the, okay, yeah. Do you still want to be heard on bond?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Okay, we can still, we'll give a reset, but I just don't, how far out do you want me to set it for the,
I don't know how to tell you that.
I mean, I'm not,
yeah.
of course, I'm not trying to be hard about it, but, you know, with the state of Fulton County and how everything is being scheduled, I would ask for at least maybe a week or so. And if that officer is unable to come in a week, then we just try and reset it again.
So usually it's like, I think we got like 2 weeks out.
Okay.
Well, let's see what she's got, how far she gets it out and do it.
2 weeks out. That'll put it at April or May 2nd.
It's a Tuesday. It'll be a Tuesday, May 2nd.
Okay. I know I have a May 1st conflict, so May 2nd should be fine.
Okay, maybe you can get his number and you
Okay.
two can chat.
Yeah, and I'll definitely reach out to the officer and get more information, because my investigator is the one who actually spoke to him. I didn't speak to him.
May 2nd, do you want it at 9 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
And if you want to hang out, we can still, I don't know if you want to hang out, we can still do the bond hearing if
Okay.
it, because I don't think I've addressed it lately.
They actually just addressed it in January.
Did I?
Right.
What is this? It's April? I can still address it if you want.
It's, hey.
Let's see, was it January? Because I mean, if not, it's going back up on my night calendar.
Right.
Let me see.
And the bond was set at, I believe, 350 or something.
Sounds like me.
375, yeah. So we're just asking for a reduction in something that's a little bit more palatable.
370, no, I'm just kidding. That sounds kind of like me, man.
And that most of it's on just the game count.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it definitely sounds like me.
I mean, without getting into it.
Yeah.
Right. It's, from what I can see on just the file that I took a look at, unless, well, I plan to see if the officer had any other overt acts or anything like that, but it doesn't seem that there is any other overt acts except for the one transaction. And since, you know, RICO does need something that's more distinguishable than just two sides of the same coin. I mean, with one transaction, we don't really have anything there. So therefore, we would be asking for, you know, a reduction in bond that is more in line with the erratic driving, improper lane change, and perhaps even the possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, which once we get to the motion to suppress, I'm sure will be taken care of.
So I guess you got a choice. We can try to address it. Dave, of course, we're just gonna hear kind of the same, but it'll be the same we heard before, not that, because it has been, or we can wait 2 weeks and do the prelim and the bond then.
Okay.
Whichever you prefer. I mean, obviously, sometimes when you do the prelim, it can go either way depending on what comes out at prelim.
Right. I mean, I defer.
Oh.
Not me.
I prefer to say that, then we have the officer here, we can hear the facts and the court can actually hear what happened in the case. And make a decision based on the facts that he.
Well, I tell you what, we can do that. And if by chance he or she's still in the hospital, then we can just address it. We'll address it then. Is that good?
That's fine with me.
Okay. And I'm sure LT will let you talk to your client if you want.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Is your, have you filed an entry? Because it's got somebody else's name on it. It's got,
Yeah, it's mine.
yeah, it's got your name on there.
Yes, ma'am. I actually filed an entry, sent it to maybe, I don't know what the email address is, or however it's supposed to be done, but I sent it over. They told me, okay, you sent it the wrong way. You didn't put the case file on it.
Yeah.
Send it back with the case file number on it. I said, okay, cool.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I don't see it. So,
All right, well, I can get you a copy.
no, I mean, yeah, just get it in the file. So if not, it'll just keep sending it to Mr. Lyle.
I'll get it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Have a good day. Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Good to see you both.
May I be excused?
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, so we'll start with position 6. We got Bostic, now we got Miss Boxley. We got Boxley, not Bostic. All right, so we got 22 CP 212137, 223 days without indictment. Jaden Jackson, entering an auto or motor vehicle with intent to commit a theft or a felony, possession of tools for a crime, criminal damage to property 2nd degree, possession of a firearm or a knife during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies, loitering and prowling, and misdemeanor obstruction. Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear a firm testimony about to give is truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you state your name and spell it for the court reporter, please?
Yes, my name is Miroslav Petkov. I'm a police officer with the City of Atlanta Police Department.
Can you spell your name for the court reporter?
First name is Miroslav, and the last name is Petkov.
Officer Petkov, where are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed with the City of Atlanta Police Department.
And were you employed with them on September the 6th, 2022?
Yes.
How did you become aware of Jaden Isaiah Jackson?
On September 6th, 2022, I responded to a 911 call regarding people actively breaking into vehicles at 3092 Piedmont Road, which is a Fairfield Inn and Suites hotel. I arrived in front of the hotel, first on scene. I didn't locate any vehicles broken into or anything. So I just started driving around the immediate area, upon which I started hearing sounds, which to me sounded like windows were breaking. So I got out of my patrol car, and as I turned the corner into an adjacent parking lot, I witnessed 4 suspects break into 2 vehicles out there. On which I gave verbal commands, I identified myself. All 4 suspects took flight on foot, they also dropped the tools that they were carrying with them. They were using to break into vehicles. I was able to catch up to Mr. Jaden Jackson, place him into custody, and recover a firearm off him. And 2 other individuals were also placed in custody by assisting officers. They were juveniles.
And when you saw them, what did you see?
I saw 4 individuals, 4 black males, actively breaking into a vehicle and, like searching throughout the vehicle.
And was Mr. Jackson inside the vehicle when you saw him?
I don't recall if he was exactly inside, but he was within that immediate area within close distance of all of them and between the vehicles.
And once you caught up with him, where was the firearm?
The firearm was in a Louis Vuitton crossbody bag that Mr. Jackson had on his person. He actually told me that he had a firearm on him.
Did he tell you anything else?
No, he didn't say anything else until he was Mirandized and agreed to speak to officers at the precinct.
And let's go back just a little bit. The original call came in for a hotel. Was you able to determine, was Mr. Jackson a guest at the hotel?
No, he was not a guest at the hotel.
Was you able to determine Mr. Jackson's address?
Home address?
Yes.
Yes, I believe when he was Mirandized, we were just asking him biographical information.
And through your investigation, was you able to determine, did Mr. Jackson have a purpose to be in the parking lot?
I'm sorry, can you restate that?
Yes. Through your investigation, were you able to determine the reason, any reason why Mr. Jackson was in the parking lot?
The purpose was to commit entering autos and thefts from vehicles. He had no business being in an unattended parking lot, so it's not a resident of the hotel, nor did he live in the immediate area.
And you said tools were dropped. Where were they?
Within like 5 feet of the vehicles. They dropped them as soon as I identified myself, gave them verbal commands.
And what kind of tools were there?
The tools that were dropped behind were a black crowbar and a screwdriver. And there were additional tools recovered from the juveniles that were also arrested on that day. And those tools were window punchers and an additional screwdriver.
Those are common tools that you would find at your local big box store. Why were you concerned about the tools in this case?
Because from my knowledge, training experience, and the amount of theft from autos that we get within the city of Atlanta, as it is our highest trending crime, those are most commonly associated with methods of breaking and entering into a vehicle.
And was you able to determine the owner of the vehicle that they were breaking in?
Yes,
And what's the name of the owner?
if I can look at my report.
Please do.
So we discovered, like 3 vehicles that were broken into. The first 2 that I saw them actively breaking into was a silver Audi with a Minnesota tag of Gary John King 312. And that belonged to a Mr. Andre Venter.
Can you spell that for the record, please?
Yes. First name is Andre, that's A-N-D-R-E. Last name is Venter, that's V-E-N-T-E-R. And the second vehicle is a silver Nissan with a Georgia tag of RTD 4338. And that belongs to a Miss TV Dad Castro. First name spelled N-A-T-I-V-I D-A-D. Last name is Castro, that's C-A-S-T-R-O. Third vehicle is a Dodge Ram pickup truck with a South Carolina registration of BCG 862. And that is registered to a Mr. Robert Essick. That's ROBERTESSICK.
And did you make contact with the victims?
Due to the time of night, we were unable to make contact with the victims. They were left with a copy of the incident report inside their damaged vehicle. And I also left Mr. Mentor a notification that his college ID, which was a black Adidas backpack, that was left next to one of the vehicles, was recovered and turned into property, so he can pick up his convenience.
Through your investigation, was you ever able to determine if any of the victims had a relationship with the defendant?
No, I was never able to determine that, but they appeared to have, two of them at least appeared to be from out of town, as they have out-of-state license plates.
And did the vehicles suffer damage?
Yes, all three vehicles had damaged windows. The silver Audi had a shattered front passenger window. The silver Nissan also had a shattered front passenger window. And the third vehicle, the rear back window was shattered, and all vehicles appeared to have been freshly rummaged through, as property was scattered all over. Both compartments and center consoles were open.
And do you know the cost for the damage to the vehicles?
I can only estimate based on just going off the retail value.
And can you, let's do it separately. For ESIC, what is the estimated cost for the damage?
For Mr. Essick, who had his Dodge Ram pickup truck broken into, that is supposed to be over $1,000 for a rear back window.
And for Castro?
Castro, who sustained a damaged front passenger window, that is again looking at about $500.
And Venter?
The silver Audi, also front passenger window, estimated price would be around $500.
And you have previously discussed that this is a common crime. Is it a common crime here?
So it is very common.
And through your employment, have you looked up the cost for the damage to windows?
Yes, I have.
And how often do you look in regards to the price for damaged windows?
I would say almost every death from vehicle call that we go to, victims would always ask us, what would it cost to get my window changed? They'd have to go through their insurance, whereas most people's insurance deductibles, the lowest I've ever seen was $250. Most people have an average of $500 to $1,000 deductible. So that means they would have to pay that $500 to $1,000 deductible in order for their insurance to be able to fix the window. So, and they're still coming out of pocket of their own money. So that's just something that we always inform people or victims of deaths from vehicles.
And when you arrived to the scene, was you in a marked patrol car?
Yes.
Was you wearing a police uniform?
Yes,
Did you announce yourself?
I did.
And when you arrived on the scene, what was your initial commands or words to the four gentlemen?
I believe it was get on the ground. Police get on the ground.
And what time of day was it when you arrived on the scene?
It was nighttime. This was, I mean, my watch had already been called. I was close to the precinct and also close to that location, which is why I responded. So this would have occurred between almost 10 o'clock, 9:45 to 9 to 10, somewhere between that time frame.
Was the parking lot, did it have lights in the parking lot? Were you able to see?
Yes.
Was there any video associated with this incident?
I believe there were cameras in the parking lot, but due to the time of night, we were unable to look at any video footage.
And what was the address that this occurred at?
This would be 3092 Piedmont Road.
What county is that in?
That is in Fulton County.
Were you post certified at the time of this investigation?
Yes.
And do you see Jaden Isaiah Jackson in a courtroom?
Yes.
Can you please describe an article of clothing he is wearing?
Yes.
You can stand up if you need to.
Mr. Jackson is sitting at the defense table wearing blue jumpsuit and a white shirt under it.
May the court recognize he has positively identified the defendant?
Thank you. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean you had to stand up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm sorry.
You had talked about Mirandizing Mr. Jackson at the police station. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And after you Mirandized them, did he waive his Miranda rights?
Yes, he agreed to speak to investigators.
And did you speak with him?
I did not, but I was present during the question.
And what did you learn after he was questioned?
Well, Mr. Jackson just stated that he and his friends caught the train to Buckhead to meet up with females, and we're just walking through a parking lot. Mr. Jackson stated that he was looking at his cell phone and did not notice what his friends were doing. And then he also stated that he knew he shouldn't have had a gun and that he was sorry.
You retrieved a gun from the bag he had. Was there anything else in the bag?
I don't recall. Yeah, I don't recall.
I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Cross.
Good morning. No, you can't see me. So let's see here. So you reported that you were sent to the area because of a 911 call.
Yes.
What time was that 911 call?
Like I said, it would have to be between 9:45 to 10 p.m.
And how soon after that call were you dispatched and arrived there?
I was dispatched. Well, I arrived within 2 minutes of the 911 call.
And you stated you looked to the Fairfield Inn parking lot first?
Yes, to like the front of the hotel, but there's several different parking lots in that area.
And did the 911 call state which parking lot they were concerned about?
No,
And how long was your review of the parking lot at the Fairfield Inn?
I canvassed the area for about 3 to 5 minutes.
And then what drew your notice to the parking lot where the defendants were eventually located?
I heard the sound of what I recognize to be glass being shattered, windows being broken.
Right. And was any other officer present at that point?
Not at that time. They were.
Now, you stated you saw 4 black males around a silver Audi.
They were around a silver Audi and a silver Nissan.
Were you able to locate where Mr. Jackson was standing in relation to the cars? Sorry.
It would have to be within the immediate area of those vehicles.
Was he like near the broken window, away from the broken windows?
Yes, all 4 men appeared to be looking into the vehicles. Provider call.
And where were the tools dropped in relation to the vehicles?
The 2 that were recovered on scene were within 5 feet of the vehicles, as well as the backpack with the stolen property.
Do you recall which person dropped the tools?
No,
Was your body camera running at that time?
yes,
And was your dash cam running?
yes,
Were both put into evidence?
yes.
And you stated that there were cameras in the parking lot. Were you ever able to recover the videos from those cameras after that day?
No,
And you said you left incident reports in the broken into vehicles. Were you able to, did they ever contact the police department after that? The victims?
not that I recall, because the next day we were on vacation.
And the parking lot where these vehicles were located, was it a business's parking lot?
Yes,
What business was that?
that would have to be the businesses between the Fairfield Inn and Hotel. I believe there's an Enterprise there and another business adjacent to it, but I believe the victim's vehicles were parked next to the Enterprise.
Enterprise Rent-A-Car?
Yes.
All right, no further questions.
Anything else?
The 3 vehicles, where were they in relation to each other? How far were they apart?
So the silver Audi and the silver Nissan that were parked next to the Enterprise building was one in front of each other. And then the fire recollect from my report.
One further,
Non-Ram, sorry,
sorry, go ahead.
the non-Ram pickup truck was on the opposite side of that building.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Yeah, I did have one further question. You stated, did you recover a cell phone from the defendant?
Objection, Your Honor. My limited redirect was only in regards to how close the vehicles were to each other.
All right, anything related to what he asked?
No, Your Honor.
All right,
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor. I
Okay.
ask that he be released and allowed to leave.
absolutely. Thank you, sir. Stay safe. Careful getting back there. All right.
Your Honor, I will submit on evidence and I will reserve my right for argument if the defense counsel makes argument.
All right, go ahead.
No argument, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to add 16-8-18, entering auto or automotive vehicle with intent to commit the theft or felony. It was 3 vehicles in totality, Your Honor, that the officer saw. He was able to go ahead and describe that 2 of them were right next to each other. And they were right there in the vicinity when he saw them. And also the one was in the direct vicinity close to the building, Your Honor. I would like to add the additional 2 16-8-18 charges because the defendant was responsible for all three, entering autos.
Okay, Your Honor, with regards to the Dodge Ram, I would object to that charge as the Dodge Ram was testified to be on the other side of the building and not near the two other vehicles. And the officer saw the defendant near the two vehicles, the Audi and the Nissan, but did not see him near the Dodge Ram or the tools near the Dodge Ram.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, not only did they respond to a call for breaking in vehicles that was close to the hotel, so it wasn't they were specifically in one area that seemed like it was going from parking lot to parking lot, Your Honor. So, and there was no other defendants, there was no other suspects in the area, Your Honor. It is the state's belief that they were the only ones there breaking into the vehicles at that time, Your Honor, and they actively did have the tools for the trade with them at that time.
Okay. So if I have probable cause on 3 counts of entering auto, possession of tools for a crime, criminal damage to property, 2nd degree, possession of firearm during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies, loitering and prowling, willful obstruction, misdemeanor. So right now there's a $12,000 good bond, but that's not including the 2 additional entering autos. That was set on September the 8th, 2022. So we'll go ahead and be heard on bond. Rah!
Yes, the defendant has a total of 5 cycles. Defendant has a theft by receiving stolen property, First Offenders Act that was sealed in 2021. He has a forgery in the 2nd degree, First Offenders Act that was sealed in 2021 as well. And then a misdemeanor purchase, possession, manufacture, distribution, or sale of marijuana in 2021. And that's correct, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Law.
Mr. Jackson is age 20. He's born in Atlanta, lived here his entire life. His extended family lives here. He has a minor brother at 15 who's 15-year-old, who he helps take care of at his home. He has a 9th grade education, but he has joined the GED program at the jail, so he's working on his education at the moment. He would like to find employment once he's released from custody. Given his limited history and his young age, we request that the bond not be increased with the new charges.
What says the state?
Your Honor, as the officer did testify, this is a increasing problem. It is a regular problem that we have with our vehicles that's being broken into, damaged on a basis. The officer was able to quote the information that they have to give to the insurance company, Your Honor. It was 3 people who had to wake up and see that their vehicle was damaged and possibly their items taken from them, Your Honor. We're concerned about the public safety and also the public property, Your Honor. And that is the concern that the state has. We will defer to the court in regards to the amount of the bond.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. No further contact with Robert Essick, Essick, and Natividad, last name Castro, or Andre Venter, Venter. No further contact with your co-defendants, John Tavius Clark, Terrence Johnson, and also there's allegedly in the warrant, there was a 3rd person just known by Willie. So no further contact with Willie. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the Orca project with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical. Employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. And if you're going to participate in the GED program, sir, you can do that. I don't know if that's, once you get out, if that's online or if that's in person, but if so, you have to provide that information to Mr. Lyle and to the ankle monitoring company. And also, with your age, still living at your parents, if your mom comes out of pocket any money to get you out of jail, you're to reimburse her in either cash or you have to pay it off in what I call sweat equity. That means doing chores or whatever you got to do. If you get paid $5 an hour to cut the grass, and that's $5 an hour off of whatever she comes out of pocket to pay. Right? So $3,000 on each entering auto. $5,000 on the possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Possession of tools for a crime, criminal damage to property, and misdemeanor obstruction. So that'd be like, and loitering and prowling, that's $250 on each of those. You got that, Ms. Miller?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Best of luck to you, sir. All right, so now, which one are we gonna hear?
Yeah. Now, you know he has a 10 o'clock hearing?
Thanks. All right, which case is his again?
Castro is number 8. Your Honor, just to update the portion.
Smith,
Position 3 and 4 is the same officer, Ariel Davis. She did reach out to me. She's in back traffic. She said she's not going to be in here for 9:50. She had let me know that a while ago. I did not have to.
okay. Okay. Montavia Smith, right? Yes, LT. All right, back, you need to run upstairs. Well, it doesn't start till 10. You need to run upstairs.
I can do that.
Okay. Do this to 4, right?
I'm for 3, position 3.
No, I mean, you're in DeForest courtroom, right?
No, Judge Drake.
Oh, okay. And I sent Judge DeFord email about whoever. Yeah.
May I approach her?
Uh-huh. We'll go ahead and swear you in. If you raise your right hand, you swear affirm testimony about to give the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, you have to just speak loudly into the microphone and spell your name for the court reporter.
My name is Castro. I'm also with the City Police Department. Spelling the first name DENNIS, last name CASTRO.
All right,
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I did not hear that at all. I'm sorry.
So try it again, Lola.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
My name is Dennis Castro, spelling the first name DENNIS, last name CASTRO.
All right, this is 22 CP 213304, Marktavius Smith, 182 days without indictment, theft by receiving stolen property and possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Go ahead, Mr. McCollum.
Yes. Officer Castro, where are you currently employed?
City of Atlanta Police Department.
And when you employed with them on October the 18th, 2022,
Yes.
how did you become aware of Marktavius Jerome Smith?
I was patrolling in the area of Oliver Street and Fox Street that day at that time. And upon driving down Oliver Street, I went ahead, I observed Mr. Smith standing at the rear of a vehicle parked on the city street on the wrong side of the roadway. And upon driving past the vehicle and Mr. Smith, I went ahead, I smelled the odor of marijuana coming from his immediate area where he was standing. So that's when I immediately pulled my vehicle over to the side, exited out of my vehicle and approached him and made contact with him. And that's when I observed what I suspected to be a rolled blunt containing marijuana. I want to say it was in the left side of his ear.
What did you see next?
What did I see next?
Yes. What did you observe?
Well, upon me driving, before I made contact with Mr. Smith, while he was standing at the back of the vehicle, his back was viewing towards me, so I could tell that he wasn't aware of my presence at the moment, and he was banging on the back of the vehicle. From what it appeared to me, trying to advise the driver inside of the vehicle to pop open the trunk. While he's standing there, that's when I observed that he was holding an object in I believe it was in his right hand, but it was wrapped up in either a piece of clothing, either a hoodie or a shirt. And upon the trunk opening, that's when he went ahead, he placed the item into the back of the trunk and closed the trunk. At that point, that's when I exited. When I pulled over, once I did pass him, I pulled over, exited my vehicle, approached him. At this point now, he's standing at the driver's side of the vehicle and he has a backpack on his back. Upon speaking to him, I went ahead, asked for identification. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to provide me with any identification at the moment. So that's why I went ahead and advised him I was going to detain him. Upon me trying to detain him, he was then the backpack that was on his person, he was trying to provide it to his girlfriend that was sitting inside the driver's seat of the vehicle. He stated to his girlfriend that her belongings, I believe it was some eyelash products, he advised was inside of the backpack, but I told him to hold on, that once I continue my investigation and I, make sure there was nothing wrong with the backpack, that I was willing to go and release that to the girlfriend. But upon going ahead and detaining Mr. Smith, walking him over to the back of my patrol vehicle to continue to further continue my investigation, that's when he spontaneously uttered to me that he actually had a rifle inside of the backpack and that it belonged to his brother.
Go ahead.
Well, which then at that point, my Sergeant McGee, he was already on scene with me. He interacted with the co-defendant. As I went ahead and requested assistance for another unit to arrive on scene due to the how many occupants were there on scene. Upon my partner arriving on scene, we went ahead and he made contact with the 2 female occupants of the vehicle that was parked on City Street. And while speaking with them, we went ahead and we smelled the odor of marijuana coming out of the vehicle coming out of the vehicle where both females were sitting inside of. So at that point, we went ahead and we had both females exit the vehicle. We went ahead, my partner searched the vehicle. And then at that point, that is where he recovered a firearm out of the trunk, which is and that was also wrapped up in that piece of clothing that Mr. Smith had in his possession. And upon running the serial number of that firearm, it came back that it was a stolen firearm out of our agency from the previous incident of a vehicle being broken into.
And do you recall the case number for that stolen firearm?
Yes, the case number would be 22-245-1377.
Please go ahead. And after you ran that back and you found that, did you speak with Mr. Smith?
Yes, I went ahead, asked him what his highest level education he's completed. I asked him in regards to the English language, could he read, speak it, also understand it? And then which at that point in time, I went ahead and read his Miranda rights and asked whether he was willing to speak to me, and he advised no.
You had discussed the backpack that had the rifle. Was there any feminine products in the backpack?
No, there were no eyelashes or no feminine products located inside of the backpack. And then also at the time while he was speaking with the girlfriend, attempting to pass the backpack off to her, I could tell reading the girlfriend's body language that she wasn't aware of anything being inside of the backpack. But then at that moment, she just started to play along, attempting to go ahead and receive the backpack from Mr. Smith.
What address did this occur at?
One moment. It occurred at 615 Oliver Street, Northwest Atlanta, Georgia, which is located in Fulton County.
Were you post certified at the time?
Yes.
And do you see Mr. Smith in the courtroom at this time?
Everybody can remove your mask, please.
Yes, I do.
And you can stand up if you need to look.
Can you please describe an article of clothing he is wearing?
He's wearing a blue shirt and with a white long sleeve shirt under that.
May the court recognize he has positively identified the defendant?
Yeah, noted.
And I apologize for not asking earlier. I asked for the case number in regards to the stolen gun. Do you know the name of the victim?
No, that I do not know.
Sir, are you the author of the criminal warrant?
Yes.
If you review the criminal warrant, will it refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Your Honor, I request to allow the officer to read his warrant.
Sure.
When your recollection is refreshed, please let me know.
It's refreshed now.
Can you please state the name of the victim?
I don't want
Can you
to.
please spell the name of the victim?
Yeah, I don't want to mess up the name. The spelling of the first name is ALIEU. Middle name MOMODOU. Last name SAHOR.
Thank you. And you wrote a criminal warrant for marijuana possession less than an ounce. Where was that when during this investigation? Where did you find the marijuana?
So I'm trying to find it in my warrant. It was going to be behind his ear.
And once illegal drugs are retrieved during an investigation, what are the next steps for per APD policy?
Well, it depends if we recovered if the individual that we recovered the narcotics off of, if they're just standing there on the sidewalk and they weren't inside of a vehicle or anything like that, then we will just continue to search that person to make sure that they're not in possession of any other illegal narcotics. But if the situation is to where they were at the moment we encountered them inside of a vehicle, we would detain them and then also search the vehicle. And then depending on the type of narcotics and also the amount of narcotics recovered off of the person will determine whether we could possibly write them a copy of charges and allow them to sign and then go to court on a later date, or whether we have to place them physically into custody at that moment.
And what was done in regards to this case?
Mr. Smith was placed in physical custody in regards to this case.
And I have no further questions at this time.
All right, Cross?
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, so let's see here. So you stated that when you were approaching, you saw Mr. Smith holding like a hoodie or clothing in his hand.
Yes, it was a piece of clothing in his hand.
Was it, did you see anything metallic inside the hoodie or just the hoodie itself?
No, what the object was inside of the piece of clothing that I was unable to tell.
And within the trunk of the car, were there any other items of clothing?
I don't recall, but that was the piece of clothing that I observed in Mr. Smith's hand was the only piece of clothing that was recognizable or to that distinction that was located inside of the trunk of that vehicle.
Okay, and can you describe what that piece of clothing looked like besides hoodie, like coloring, any labels or anything like that?
Just at the moment, it's just a gray hoodie.
Now, you said there were two females within the car?
Yes, driver's seat and front passenger seat.
Do you know if that vehicle was owned by either of those two people?
No, if I recall correctly, I believe that vehicle is a rental.
And did you get the permission of the driver to search the car?
No, I did not need her permission, because when my partner and I went ahead and made contact with both occupants of the vehicle, at that point we smelled the odor of marijuana still coming from the vehicle. So at that point we were legally justified to go and search the vehicle. So we advised both occupants to exit the vehicle.
All right, and then did you smell any such odor from the trunk of the vehicle?
No, I don't believe so.
And were you ever told of any dangerous items within the trunk of the vehicle?
No, I was not told.
When you spoke with Mr. Smith, did he ever state where the stolen weapon came from?
No, I never spoke to him in regards to the stolen firearm.
And what sort of firearm is the stolen weapon?
Mm. It is going to be a Glock 23 40 caliber with a serial number of BSYL 365.
Was that serial number erased or damaged in any way?
No.
And from your experience as an officer, do you know if Glock 23s are commonly sold in the Atlanta area?
Objection, cause for speculation.
Withdrawn.
Okay.
And were the other detained females ever charged with anything? Or was just Mr. Smith?
Well, in regards to the two females, I don't believe they were charged with anything. If they were possibly issued copy of charges, possibly for the charge of possession of marijuana. And in regards to this case, anybody else placed in custody was Mr. Smith and his co-defendant that was there on scene also.
Right. And was the rifle that was found in the backpack ever had a serial number looked at as well?
Yes.
And was that firearm returned to be stolen?
No.
Was the owner of that weapon found?
No.
No further questions.
Anything else from the state?
I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor. I ask that the officer be released and allowed to leave.
All right. Thank you, officer. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Fair with argument.
Yes, Your Honor. Though the weapon did come back as being reported stolen, nothing indicates on the weapon that Mr. Smith knew it was stolen. He just was placed in the car within the trunk. He didn't know the police were coming, so he was just acting normally with it. There was no damage to the serial number or anything like that. So there's no reason for him to know that the weapon was stolen. So we request the dismissal of that charge.
Your Honor, in regards to the theft by receiving stolen property, he had two guns. One was in the bag on his back, Your Honor, and he actively, utterly stated that I have a gun on me. He informed him of the gun. He knew he had a gun on him and it was in his possession. He had shortly, momentarily before, the officer saw him holding a gray sweatshirt that had another gun in it. He did not offer any information in regards to the other gun. He is the only person who had the possession. He is the only person who actually put it into the trunk. He's the only person who had the direct control of it, Your Honor. The concern that the reason why he is knowing that he has a stolen gun is because he did not offer any information in regards to the gun. He knew he touched it, he knew he was in contact with it, but he specifically did not respond. He did specifically made sure that it was hidden. He was specifically made sure he was banging on the trunk to try to get in there as fast as possible, but all shows that he is aware and he knew that the gun was stolen, Your Honor. I believe that enough information have been provided to the court to show probable cause, and that's that the court find probable cause on both charges.
May I respond?
Sure.
So the officer stated that Mr. Smith did not notice him when he was approaching specifically, and that was in the moment he turned the trunk in. So there's no reason to indicate that he was trying to hide that weapon or trying to get into the trunk to avoid the weapon being found by the police officer. And when there was a gun on him, he did indicate to the officer that there was a gun, which was found, the rifle.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and find probable cause on both. And my concern here, before we just addressed bond on April the 3rd. However, he's already out on one bond where it says no alcohol, no drugs, no weapons, and he's got a weapon. So I'll find probable cause on both those. Go ahead, preach. Wow.
Defendant has a total of 4 cycles. Defendant does not have any convictions. Nothing further, Your Honor.
How many outstanding cases do you have in, open cases do you have in Fulton? 5?
I'm aware of.
1, 2, 3, 5, maybe 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, maybe 7. Sorry, I just lost my count. Go ahead with your bond argument.
Yes, Mr. Smith is age 22. The address and file on Hollywood Drive is correct. That's where his mom and his aunt live, where he lives with them. His brother also lives there, and he has a 2-year-old daughter who's in the Atlanta area who he often visits and lives together, actually. He has 11th grade education, and he was working at his aunt's restaurant called Sabrina's Kitchen as a cashier, and he can return to that job once he's released from custody. He does community service work through his church and just in general. And given he has no criminal history besides the open cases, we're requesting that the bond be reduced from
17,000.
yes to 14.
Is the judicial hold still in place on that one case? Do you know?
I am unsure.
Are you representing him on that one?
Is that a indicted case?
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay. All right. What says the state?
Your Honor, as you stated, that he already was released, and then he actually had a gun in his possession, Your Honor. He also tried to give his girlfriend time to take possession of the gun. So that means he is associated with 2 different guns, Your Honor. He let the officer know he had a gun, and he was seen holding another gun, Your Honor. We are concerned that if released, his propensity to commit additional felonies appears that it will be a concern for the public. And also, we are concerned that will he follow any restrictions and any conditions that we put in place, because it seems like he has not done that previously, Your Honor. So those are the concerns that the state has, Your Honor. And just for the record, we will defer to the court in regards to the amount, but that is the concern for the state.
All right. So Mr. Smith, Mr. Law, I mean, he can look, I'm not sure who represents you on the indicted case, but it looks like that still may be in judicial hold, which means you may not have a bond and may not be able to get out on that case, but you may want to talk to whoever's representing you on that. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 615 Oliver Street, Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia. No further contact with ALIEU, middle name MOMBOU, last name SAHOR. You have ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. 10,000 count one, $100 for the possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Best of luck to you, sir. All right, so now we got Amy Sutton, right? You got to bring her up separate, LT?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, let's see who is. Which case are you here on? Oh, she's here on, oh, but that's with the.
So I can.
Yeah, can you bring up Miss Sutton? Amy Sutton? Yeah, come on up. This is your day today, Mr. Law.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the, Lyle calendar, right? She's on one of yours too, or are they both Mr. Rhodes?
Amy Sutton?
No, so this is the officer. You're also the officer in Langdon, right?
Yes.
Okay, so she's got one of yours too.
Though I believe Amy Sutton's case was transferred over to the accountability court last week.
Let's see, was it? Let's see. Did we sign a transfer order for that? And we've made this officer sit here for all this time?
I'm sorry, say it again. You said it went to accountability court?
Yes, last week. Sutton.
All right, so hold on, let's see. Did it? I do see, was it actually for methamphetamines, possession of drug-related objects? I did sign it on April 11th. So then we don't need her.
Hold on, we have 2. She's
No, I'm talking about this officer for Amy, for Miss Sutton. We've kept this officer here now and didn't actually need this officer.
Sorry, I wasn't aware he was here for that case.
It's been nice seeing you. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess, hey, Deputy, can you get LT before he brings Miss Sutton up? Because we don't need her. Thanks, sorry about that. Huh? So Sutton has been transferred to accountability court, which I didn't see that beforehand. Mr. Law just told me so. She doesn't need to bring her up. Samuel Langdon, though. You ready on that one?
Yes.
Langdon?
Mr. Rhodes here. Because that was a co-defendant case, correct?
He's got one case. So yours is Samuel Langdon, and then Mr. Rhodes has William Wilkinson. Did you catch her? Are you able to radio her?
I'm by the radio right now.
Okay, because I mean, now she's gonna have to like take her back down, bring him back up. Sorry, thanks, Mr. Law. So they're gonna bring up Mr. Sure. Sure. They're gonna bring up Mr. Langdon. You got that, Ms. Miller, position 7 was transferred to accountability court. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
No problem. I have it, Judge. Thank you. Judge Manning,
Yes, ma'am.
with her being sent to accountability court, will she still stay on your calendar for April 24th?
No, ma'am, she shouldn't.
Okay.
Looks like I saw in the order April the 11th. So yeah, she should be removed from that too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hey, LT, sorry, he tried to, well, you can go ahead and tell her, Mr. Law, while we got her out here.
Yeah. Yeah, so they brought you in here on accident because it was already transferred over to the accountability court, like you know. So they weren't supposed to have you on the calendar, so they're going to do it today.
Oh.
So there's no reason to do it since you're already at the accountability court.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
So let's take you back until you're transferred over there completely.
Oh, when you know when that's gonna be?
I don't, but I know all the paperwork should be done.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought this was.
No, this was a preliminary hearing on your case, but we don't need that since you're in the accountability court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, LT, she can go back. Samuel Langdon.
Would you be?
Sorry, LT, I didn't realize she'd been transferred to.
Your Honor, would we be doing the co-defendant at the same time, Mr. Wilkinson, which is 3?
Well, we don't have Mr. Rhodes here.
Yeah.
You know, can you text him, see how long he's gonna be?
Hmm.
Do you have Mr. Rhodes' number? You can see how long he's gonna be, see if he
I
can-
don't have his number though.
Oh, yeah. All right, come on up. Good morning. So that microphone's a little, you just have to speak up into it and it's kind of picky. So if you raise your right hand. Okay. You swear a firm testimony about to give us truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, if you can state and spell your name for the court reporter.
Officer Aria Davis, ARIA DAVIS.
All right, this is 22 CP 211878, 233 days without indictment. There's a $3,500 good bond as of April the 4th for identity theft when using, possessing, identifying info concerning another person, unlawful possess, display, or use false, fraudulent, altered ID, and giving a false information to law enforcement officer. Go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Yes, Your Honor, it is 2 defendants in regards to this case, in position number 3 and position number 4.
But Mr. Rhodes isn't here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
And he said he didn't have Mr. Rhodes' number.
all right,
Because,
just judicial economy. And
yeah, no, I agree, but he's in another, Mr. Rhodes went to another courtroom to,
understand.
yeah. So sorry, I had to say it like twice.
Sounds good.
We starting with Wilkinson, Your Honor, just to make sure.
Mr. Langdon.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Officer, where are you currently employed?
The Sandy Springs Police Department?
And were you employed with them on August 29, 2022?
Yes.
And how did you become aware of William Wade Wilkinson?
Wait, are you gonna cover both or you gotta do both? This is Langston or Langdon.
One moment. Wrong one in front of me, Your Honor. I got
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, it would have been better for Mr. Rhodes, but I guess he's in another hearing.
So
So
we're doing it separately because
All right,
his
let me
attorney
try it
still
again.
not.
Officer,
They're doing it after us.
for the record,
They're doing it
how did
now.
you become aware of Samuel Langdon?
I initiated a traffic stop in regard to a stolen vehicle located inside of Fulton County, Georgia. On this traffic stop, Mr. Langdon was the passenger inside of the vehicle.
And after you initiated the stop, what happened next?
We performed a felony stop. We gave the driver and passenger both separate commands to exit the vehicle. That way we could take them to our line and detain them for some questioning.
And did you do that?
Yes.
And after they were outside of the vehicle, what happened next?
I made contact with Mr. Langdon first. And at this point, I needed to identify who he was. And then I guess, yeah, you'll have further questions about that.
Sure, please, go ahead. Was you able to identify Mr. Langdon?
After a period of time, yes. Initially, when I made contact with Mr. Langdon, he told me that his name was Lawrence Halpern and gave a date of birth of 05/24/1948. He also said, you can get my ID out of my wallet because I was having a hard time with it coming back. So I went to his wallet and I got his ID. The ID that I saw while I was getting the ID came back to a Samuel Langdon out of South Carolina. But at the same time, like I said, I had his wallet, and when I pulled that out, I saw the Lawrence Halpern ID, and the Lawrence Halpern ID was out of Connecticut with that date of birth of 05/24/1948. However, Lawrence Halpern / Samuel Langdon both had the same ID picture. In addition, inside of his wallet, I also located a piece of paper with a social security number, a phone number, and an address for Lawrence Halpern, as well as a Dave.com credit card coming back to a Marquise Wilson.
And after you were able to find all this information, did you discuss this with Mr. Langdon?
I did. We still had a hard time getting him to return because there were two IDs with Mr. Langdon's information and picture on them. It was trying to verify which one was correct. So we did have to use our rapid ID fingerprint scanner. And I do believe it came back with a warrant. I do not recall the county or the charges, but I do believe it was a extradition warrant.
And it did come back with a warrant, but through the rapid ID, were you able to identify the person that you were trying to at the time?
Yes, ultimately the identification came back to Samuel Langdon.
They discovered that I didn't have any more.
Through your investigation, were you able to make any contact with Lawrence, I believe you said Halpern?
Halpern, Halpern.
Through your investigation, was you able to make contact with Mr. Halpern?
I was not able to make any contact.
Was you able to determine If Mr. Halpern, at any time, did Mr. Langdon go by a different name?
No.
And was you able to make contact with Marquise Wilson?
I was not. I only had a debit card and a search of law enforcement sites. Was not able to return with any updated or valid information for just a random Marquise Wilson without a date of birth.
And for the record, can you please spell the first and last name for Mr. Wilson?
Yes, Marquise, and then last name Wilson.
And this information, where was it on Mr. Langdon?
It was in his ID or his wallet, which he asked me to retrieve and get this information from.
Where did you stop Mr. Langdon? Vehicle.
Yes, inside the vehicle. We were initially, I saw them on Rosal Road at 5505 Rosal Road,
What
but
county is that
in Fulton County.
And when they were ultimately stopped, where was that?
That was going to be on 285, the Rosal Road ramp to get onto 285.
And what county is that in?
Fulton County, Georgia.
Were you post certified at the time of this investigation?
Yes.
And are you able to identify Mr. Langdon?
Yes.
Can you please describe, and you can stand if
You can stand if you need to.
Can you please describe an article of clothing he is wearing?
A blue shirt with a gray long sleeve undershirt.
May the court recognize she has positively identified the defendant.
Noted.
And when you asked Mr. Langdon initially for his information, did he give you the whole wallet or did he give you the license? How did he initially try to identify himself?
Verbally, and I do believe that I also reconfirmed and asked him to spell it out and give me his name and date of birth for a second time.
One moment, please, Your Honor.
Uh-huh.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Cross.
Good morning. So what was the reason for the vehicular stop in the first place?
The two occupants were riding in a stolen vehicle out of Ohio.
And Mr. Langdon was the passenger of the vehicle?
Yes.
When you first requested the information of Mr. Langdon, did he only reply verbally or did he hand you the ID card for Mr. Halpern as well?
Initially, it was verbally, and then he asked me to retrieve the false ID.
Where was the ID located, the false ID located in the wallet?
I do not recall which pocket or inside the wallet.
Was the correct ID for Mr. Langdon also in the wallet?
Yes.
Were they like in the same general position?
Yes.
And was Mr. Langdon's legitimate ID hidden in any way?
I do not recall which one was first or which one was second. I think Halpern, I do believe Halpern was the first one, because once I took that out, that's when I saw that there was an additional ID with Samuel Langdon.
Were you able to run the two identification documents to determine legitimacy of them?
Can you repeat your question?
Were you able to, sorry, were you able to run the two identification documents in South Carolina and Connecticut to determine if they were actual IDs or fraudulent?
I was not able to get a return for the Lawrence Halpern, but I was able to get the return for a Samuel Langdon. I do believe that the warrants that he had were put in under a different way, or maybe name and date of birth versus OLN, because when I first ran it, it didn't come back. But then when I ran it by name and date of birth, it did come back.
You stated there was also a slip of paper with some other identifying information of Mr. Halpern in the wallet.
That is correct. He had a piece of paper that was folded up with an address, a phone number, and a social security number with the name Lawrence Halpern at the top of the piece of paper. It was probably about the size of a index card.
Were you able to verify if any of those were the actual records of a Lawrence Halpern?
I did not.
And were you able to determine if Lawrence Halpern is a real person or a fictitious person?
I was not able to, because it did not come back.
Okay. Once the ID for Lawrence Halpern and Samuel Langdon were taken from the wallet, did Mr. Langdon ever claim to be Lawrence Halpern again?
I do not recall. I believe once we identified him as Samuel Langdon, that is what he went by for the rest of our interaction.
And were bank records or credit card records for Marquise Wilson ever found?
No.
Okay. No further questions.
All right. Anything else for this witness?
Nothing else at this time, Your Honor. I asked, well, can't say it should be released. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Well, we'll get Mr. Rhodes down here for the next case. You can just channel. All right, go ahead with the argument.
No argument, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
All right.
can I have a moment because I think I have an argument? Can I just have a quick moment,
Okay,
please?
sure. No, that's okay. Mr. Law, while he's working, are you covering for Mr. Olaf today?
I am not.
Oh, okay.
Let me contact him and see where he is.
He may be in another courtroom too.
Yeah, so she can dismiss the charges and like based on what the officer has been saying, or she can send it over to the Superior Court to be indicted. So any negotiation.
Don't forget it's a hot mic.
Happen if the case is indicted. But she can't reset bond today.
Right, hot mic.
In her actual plea.
Account. Double. I paid when I was 16.
Whisper as well. I'm looking at the mic.
apologize, Your Honor. I just want to see. Your Honor, I'm ready to proceed in regards to argument.
Okay.
I'd like to say that the officer gave, definitely more than enough information as regards to the charges before the court, Your Honor. He actually only stated his name multiple times. He gave a false date and he also gave a false name, Your Honor. He actually said after he gave a false date and a false name, he said, look at my wallet, look for the name that did have a false date and a false name, Your Honor. He also tried to go ahead and show that ID to, or he did go ahead and tell an officer with his permission to go ahead and go through his wallet to try to prove who he was, which was false, Your Honor. But I would also like to add 16-9-31 financial transaction card theft. That is for the debit card of Marquise Wilson, Your Honor, and it will be under section B. It is obtaining or withholding a financial transaction card by the consent of the cardholder. And Your Honor, as he has this card that we know is not his name was not confirmed. His name was actually confirmed by the officer at Samuel Langdon as an additional charge of financial card theft be added.
You want to respond, Mr. Lyle?
Yes, Your Honor. Nothing indicates from the testimony that Mr. Langdon was trying to use that credit card or knew that the card was stolen. He could just pick it up off the ground or try and return it to him later on if he found him. Because he never tried to use Mr. Marquise Wilson's name, gave the information for him, or tried to use it in any way that the officer can determine for any financial use.
Your Honor, according to it is obtaining. And what we will say is, Your Honor, I believe through the testimony that is there, it's in his wallet with his other cards, with his real ID and the false ID that he tried to go ahead and use, Your Honor. It shows the intent to withhold it from the actual legal owner of the card, Your Honor, and have it right next to his other legal license and his false license that he did have.
You said under B, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we'll go ahead and add that one count. Go ahead. Preach.
Mr. Langdon is a multi-state offender. He has 7 cycles in Georgia. He has a burglary in 2008, a misdemeanor forgery in the 4th degree in 2015, 2 counts of misdemeanor forgery in the 4th degree in 2016. He has a printing, executing, negotiating checks, drafts, etc. Known information is false or fictitious. 2 counts of that in 2016. He has 4 cycles out of South Carolina. And he has a forgery less than $10,000 in 2018. And he has 2 probation violations. He has 3 cycles up in Florida. They're all outside of the 10-year period. And then he has 23 cycles out of Louisiana. Again, all those are outside of the 10-year period. His last conviction, his most recent conviction there was an escape second degree, and that was in 2003. And nothing, Your Honor.
Do you still see an escape? 'Cause it was like there was a probation and an escape warrant in South Carolina, I guess, when he was arrested, but that was 233 days ago. Is that still outstanding?
I did not see that.
I didn't know if you still saw a hold. I don't know.
I didn't see a hold for that.
Okay. It was noted on his booking sheet when he was first arrested. I didn't know if that had been taken care of. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Lyle.
Mr. Lingwood is age 61. He was born in Louisiana. He's lived in the Atlanta area since April 2022, where he came down from Anderson, South Carolina for work. He has friends in the area that own a business that he's been working with doing home remodeling, and his friend owns a barber shop in the area that he's been staying with. He finished high school in 1978 in Louisiana and has done some welding school, electrical engineering. He was certified as a welder in 1979 and did electrical engineering at Delgado Junior College in 1987. He's done volunteer work for the Salvation Army and for his church over the churches over time. Given his nonviolent criminal history and the fact that right now he's in talks with the bail project because it's only $30,500 to have his bail paid for by them, we request that his bail not be set for more than $5,000 or preferably kept as is.
Is he still going to leave it? Looks like he had a Monroe Drive address.
Let's see here. I believe you can't stay at Monroe Street anymore, correct?
What's that, 219?
Yeah, where'd your best address be?
The what?
Where would you be living?
At 219.
Monroe Street.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, that is his address. He would be staying at.
Okay. What says the state?
Your Honor, what we're not concerned about is, I understand that it is a non-violent crime. There's a lot of forgery there, Your Honor. It seems like he had multiple convictions for forgery. In regards to this case right here, he has somebody else debit card in his possession. At this time, Your Honor, we have, I believe I heard probation violations also, Your Honor. So we are concerned that for the public and the financial institutions and people ability to go ahead and have their financial cards, financial information used against them. So that is a concern that the state do have at this time. It was an active attempt to go ahead and try to elude the positive identification of himself, Your Honor. And that is a concern the state has at this time. We will defer to the court in regards to the amount of the bond.
So I guess previously he must have said somebody wasn't going to live in Fulton County because I put stay out of Fulton County.
I believe previously he was trying to live at a different address, but he says this is now the best address for him again.
So is that where you're going to be living, or is that just an address that you know?
Ma'am?
Is that where you will be living?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, it's an apartment inside the barber shop. He's got 20 chairs in there. I laid the tile for the man. I did a lot of.
So you're hoping you'll lay that, you'll be able to stay.
No, he told me I could live there.
Okay. All right.
I was living there prior to.
All right.
This incident.
No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. So obviously Ms. Miller will change this a little bit. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. And before there was like MH program. Before I put an MH program, give me it.
Yeah. I know we applied to the accountability corp, but I don't think it went through.
Okay, all right. Let's see, so. If there's a hold, he'll have 48 hours to have that ankle monitor placed on his ankle once he's released from the hold. No further contact with your co-defendant, William Wilkerson. Stay away from 5505 Roswell Road in Sandy Springs. No further contact with Lawrence Halpern, Halpern, and Marquise Wilson MARQUISEWILSON. So it'd be 1,500, 500, and the financial transaction car theft, 1,500. So looks like it's a 5,000 total. Good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. Oh, well, and of course now Mr. Rhodes gets here. You come back on, you come back up, you gonna bring Mr. Wilkerson? Yeah.
Your Honor, can I give an update before Mr. Lyle leaves, please?
Well, Mr. Lyle's not leaving. I'm just going, I mean, he's still got another case, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the case I'm gonna talk about.
Where'd you go? Oh, 1,500, 500, and then 1,500 for the new one. Yeah, Wilkerson, LT.
Your Honor. Position number 9, Robert Radcliffe, Mr. Lyle.
Yeah.
Position number 9, Robert Radcliffe.
Do we need to bring Mr. Ragland out or?
I mean, go ahead. I'll just make the announcement. I don't mind bringing him out. My concern is, Your Honor, our officer was not subpoenaed in that case. This is a Atlanta Fire and Rescue Department, Your Honor. And the issue that came up with, as we tried to go ahead and have that officer subpoenaed, it did come back, Your Honor. We noticed it as of right now, and what I am asking for the court at this time is a reset because the officer was not subpoenaed. And what we're going to do is we want to reach out directly if the court do allow a reset, before we can go ahead and do the subpoena officer and get the actual date. The concern, well, not concern, Your Honor, this is not one of our regular.
So you're in subpoenaing somebody who works at the fire department, like a fire investigator.
Yeah, but it's a little bit different. So it's not one of the regular agencies that we normally do. So we have to perfect our process, I'll say. So what I will say is we have his phone number, and once we get a date, we'll be able to reach out to him directly, and we will still subpoena officer. So at this time, I'm asking for this.
You have no objection for one reset, but he has been in jail for about 6 months now, so.
Gonna address bond again?
Mhm.
Okay, because I think his bond's addressed in February, so I'll be glad to address it
Yeah.
again. Okay, we'll address it again. How long? 2 weeks, I guess, is about where we're at.
And what I'll do is if there is something to come up, we want to definitely talk to him today. If the date needs to be changed, I'll reach out.
Okay.
That's still May 2nd. You want 9 a.m.?
Which day?
May 2nd? I think it's a Tuesday.
Yeah. Yes, that's fine.
Okay, 9 a.m. 9 a.m. And obviously you can tell him that when we bring him out for his bond.
Otherwise, I apologize for, like I said, we have a direct number, and it's one of the ones that we don't normally do.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay, sorry about that, officer. Now you gotta go through the whole thing all over again. All right, let's see. All right, so this is, all right, you can raise your right hand. You swear affirm testimony about to give the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, let's see. This is 22 CP 211878, 232 days without indictment, theft by taking felony, unlawful to display, possess, use or any false, fraudulent, altered identification, and driving with suspended or revoked license. You can state your name, spell it for the court reporter.
Officer Aria Davis, ARIA-DAVIS.
All right, go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Davis, where are you currently employed?
Sandy Springs Police Department.
And were you employed on August the 29th, 2022?
Yes.
And how did you become aware of William Wilkinson?
I received a flock hit, which is a system that runs tags that hit in certain parts of the city. They specifically look for stolen vehicles, missing people, things of that nature. So it hit for a stolen BMW X3 out of Ohio.
And after you received a hit, what did you do next?
I confirmed the vehicle through a personal GCIC query to make sure that it was still, in fact, listed as stolen. Then I went to locate the vehicle, which was initially located at 5505 Roswell Road in Fulton County, Georgia. It had drove across the street and then tried to proceed on to 285.
And were you able to stop the vehicle?
I did initiate a traffic stop on the vehicle.
And once you initiated a traffic stop, what did you do next?
We conducted a felony stop. We gave commands that were obeyed by both the driver and the occupant to exit the vehicle, and they're both detained in patrol vehicles.
And was Mr. Wilkinson, was he the driver or was he the passenger?
He was the driver.
And after he was detained, what did you do next with him?
I made contact with him to try and ID him and get a little bit more about what was going on before we transfer them up to headquarters.
And after you made that contact and to try to find a little bit more information, were you able to?
Yes. Mr. Wilkinson did provide a correct name and date of birth while on scene. However, conducting a search incident to arrest, he did have a fraudulent driver's license out of Michigan with the name Russell B, and I cannot pronounce this last name, but I'll spell the name for you. It is Russell, middle initial B, last name is Scaffede. And again, that was out of Michigan. This driver's license, it does come back to a legitimate person, a legitimate Mr. Russell. However, it is a middle-aged man with a beard and red hair, but Mr. Wilkinson's picture was on the actual hard copy of the driver's license. So when I ran the GCIC, that's where I learned that it had been forged or messed with. His driver's license for Florida, for Mr. Wilkinson, it came back suspended with multiple suspensions. And then in addition, he also had a nationwide extradition warrant out of Louisiana for forgery.
And did you discuss the actual vehicle he was driving with him?
Yes, once he kept telling me that he wanted to talk, so I transported him up to headquarters for an official interview. That way I could read him right and we could talk openly about what all was happening. During this time, he did admit that he did steal the vehicle from Ohio. He said that he was at a Motel 6 on August 26th of 2022. Between him and the victim, there's a little back and forth about what exactly transpired, but ultimately, Mr. Wilkinson stated that he did take the vehicle while the registered owner was using the restroom inside of the motel.
And was he Mirandized at the time?
Yes.
Now, when you was back at headquarters, was this recorded?
Yes.
Was it on your body cam, or did you actually go into a room that had recording devices in the room?
Yes, the room is equipped with audio and visual.
And when he was Mirandized, was that also recorded?
Yes. And I do believe it is signed. We do a signed Miranda form.
And did he have keys to the vehicle?
I do not recall that information.
When you initially received the hit for the stolen vehicle, what address was that?
What address did I first locate the hit at? 5505 Roswell Road at the Target, which is inside the Prado Shopping Center.
And what county is it in?
Fulton County, Georgia.
When he was ultimately stopped, what address is that?
It would have been on 285 eastbound at the Roswell Road ramp to get onto 285 eastbound.
And what county is that?
Fulton County, Georgia.
And were you post-certified during this investigation?
Yes.
Do you see Mr. Wilkinson in the courtroom?
Yes.
Can you please describe an article of clothing he is wearing?
Blue shirt with a gray long sleeve undershirt.
May the court recognize she has positively identified the defendant?
Noted.
Did you do a search incident to lawful arrest of Mr. Wilkinson?
Yes.
Through that search incident through a lawful arrest, did you recover a wallet?
Yes.
In the wallet, what was in his wallet?
Miscellaneous items, as well as that Michigan driver's license for the Russell subject.
And when you asked his identification, and he gave you the name, did he give you a birth date?
I don't recall, but I do remember that I did not have any issues with the name and date of birth that he provided, or the name to be able to identify him.
Did a picture come up of the real Mr. Russell?
Yes.
And was it a different person compared to Mr. Wilkinson?
Yes.
Through your investigation, was you able to determine if Mr. Russell gave Mr. Wilkinson permission to use his ID?
I was not able to determine that information.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Cross?
Yes, Judge. Officer Davis, was it?
Yes.
Good morning. Yes,
Good morning.
good morning still, Officer Davis. When you first approached this BMW, did anything, aside from the flock hit, did anything appear suspicious about that car?
I do not recall it being a suspicious vehicle in itself.
Okay. So was there anything in particular that alerted you to that vehicle before the flock hit?
No, I was not in the area until that flock hit came about.
Oh, I see. So there was another officer or something that had first alerted to that vehicle?
Flock is a license plate reader company. They give us alerts when license plates hit license plate readers inside of the area. So once that happens, it gives us an alert on our computer of the area, the location, the type of vehicle, and a picture of the vehicle. And then it's up to the officer to go and locate that vehicle.
Understood. All right. Have you conducted, stops on vehicles before that were alerted on flock?
Yes.
All right. So you initiated a traffic stop at the on-ramp of 285 on Roswell Road, right?
I would say a little bit more on 285 than Roswell Road, but that would be the closest cross street.
All right. In that traffic stop, you found Mr. Wilkinson, right?
Yes, as the driver.
And anyone else in the vehicle?
Passenger with Samuel Langdon.
All right. Who did you first speak with?
I believe I spoke with Mr. Langdon.
All right. And did Mr. Langdon give any statement or explanation as to what was going on?
I don't believe I spoke with him about the vehicle at that time. I was going to wait till I Mirandized both of them before speaking with them about the specifics of this case.
Okay. Well, you still mentioned speaking with Mr. Langdon first. So did you speak with him at the scene on I-285?
Yes, it was to gather identification to know who he was.
All right. Afterwards, though, you spoke with Mr. Wilkerson?
Wilkinson?
Wilkinson, yes.
Yes.
You asked for his ID, and he voluntarily gave you his wallet?
He gave me the correct information. However, now that he was being placed under arrest or to be transported to obtain warrants and to be interviewed, we did have to complete a search incident to arrest. And during the search incident to arrest, that is where the wallet is found.
Okay. So he did verbally at least give you the name William Wilkinson
That is correct.
and the correct date of birth, which I believe would have been December 9th, 1968.
Okay.
He gave you that date of birth?
I don't have it in my report, but I would have had to identify him with a name and date of birth. I just don't want to say that that's the birthday that was given when I'm not sure. But it came back, so if that's his birthday, then.
All right, understood. After you'd obtained those warrants and searched Mr. Wilkinson, my apologies. You were able to go inside his wallet and find that ID in question?
Yes.
That ID had the name Russell, I think Scafid is how I would pronounce it.
Okay.
Were you able to get in touch with this subject, Russell Scafid?
I was not.
Were you, or did you, seek out, well, let me ask, this was a Michigan driver's license, right?
Yes.
Did you contact the state of Michigan to verify that identification and what it might look like?
Can you repeat your question?
Did you contact the state of Michigan to verify that ID?
Objection, Your Honor. That's the officer spoke, Your Honor. Your Honor, she already testified that, I would say asked and answered. She already testified that she pulled it up on the system. She was able to look at the ID, able to determine that it was two different people, Your Honor.
Gotta rephrase your question, Mr. Rhodes. I mean, I think I know what you're asking, but I'm not sure.
How did you, I guess, determine the proper look, I guess, of the ID of Russell Scafid?
So being in law enforcement for the past 5 years, I've had the opportunity to look at almost every single state's identification. That one did look exactly like the Michigan ID. Through there, I verified it with GCIC, which pulls through NCIC, which has Michigan returns attached. The picture that was on the physical driver's license showed Mr. Wilkinson. The picture that comes back to the actual driver's license in the cloud, I guess you would say, NCIC, showed an entirely different male. So the license that was in his possession had been altered, if that is what you were asking.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so you brought Mr. Wilkinson back to the local precinct for interrogation, right?
That is correct.
And you mentioned he was Mirandized on camera.
That is correct.
And he made certain statements that were recorded and on camera, correct?
That is correct.
Would that video footage be, or has that been submitted into evidence? Is that accessible?
Yes.
Do you recall Mr. Wilkinson mentioning the vehicle being offered to him?
No. There were talks about purchasing a vehicle, but as far as blanketly you stating he was offered the vehicle, no.
Okay. Do you recall who would have made who had offered to sell the vehicle?
I am not sure. We did not. I don't believe we discussed that. Yeah.
Are you still thinking, or is that your answer?
Can you say it? Can you repeat your
I'm
question?
sorry, were you still thinking?
The vehicle had not been offered in the way that I believe that you are suggesting.
Okay, well, in the interrogation, you mentioned that there were potential discussions about the sale of that vehicle to Mr. Wilkinson.
Yes, from the viewpoint of the victim thought that he was going there to sell his car. However, as indicated in my report, and while we were inside of the interview room, he stated that he saw the opportunity to flee when another guy came with a car, and he took the vehicle while the victim, Hayden Hofspian, I believe is his name, was preoccupied in the restroom of the Motel 6.
Okay, and did you personally speak with this Hayden?
I did. I spoke to because he is the primary driver of the vehicle, and I also spoke to his mother, who is the registered owner of the vehicle.
And for the record, what's the name of the mother?
The name of the mother. That would have to be some information we get from GCIC or something like that. I don't have the mother's information. I spoke to the victim himself.
Understood. Those are all my questions, Officer Davis. Thank you.
All right, anything else?
I have no further questions for the officer at this time.
All right, thank you, officer. Stay safe.
Thank you.
That's all you got. All right, go ahead with the argument.
Submit on the evidence. I'll defer to the defense. I respond if necessary.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, Judge, I'd ask that there be no probable cause on count 1, theft by taking. It hasn't been, I guess, submitted into evidence or testimony that the registered owner of the vehicle, the identity of that person, without knowing the identity of who, alleged, who is alleged to be the victim of this charge, I would say that a finding of probable cause would be deficient on those grounds. And I would submit on charges counts 2 and 3.
Yes, Your Honor. In regards to the first charge, they went there for alleged sale of the vehicle. They saw opportunity. He testified to this during the Mirandized interview interrogation that happened, that they thought they was about to go ahead and get a sale. When somebody went to the bathroom, that's when they stole the vehicle. They said they did it. He admitted it to the officer at the time. When the card reader, when the license plate actually went through, it gave him as the stolen vehicle. And when they talked about it, he admitted to doing exactly that. He actually stole the vehicle in Michigan under the guise that we're going to sell it. They saw a moment. The officer did make contact with the owner of the vehicle, Your Honor. The officer did reach out, did get in contact, did talk to him, did verify that he did not have permission to take the vehicle. The actual sale did not go through. And I asked that the court find probable cause on all charges.
All right, I'll find probable cause on all 3 charges. We address bond back. On April the 4th, I put an $8,000 good bond. You want to make any argument, Mr. Rhodes?
He still can't make it, so sure, I would like to make an
All right,
argument.
let me see.
This is defendant's first arrest in Georgia. Defendant has 66 cycles in Florida. Most of them are outside of the 10-year period. So he has a grand theft in 2017. He has a driving while license revoked in 2012, 2010, and 2008. A possession of cocaine in 2008, and a grand theft auto in 2002. Everything else is further back than that.
Mr. Rhodes, is he gonna live in Fulton County?
No, Judge. He's from Florida. He's based in Florida, and he was only traveling through Georgia trying to get home when he was stopped by this officer. He has no ties to Georgia, and I don't say that to say that he's a flight risk. He's told me, of course, that he's willing to resolve the case and he wants to resolve the case, but he's not a danger to the local community in Georgia.
I was gonna say, because somehow here in the booking sheet, they got 230 18th Street, Atlanta, Georgia is the address for him on his booking photo and pre-trial. Was intake for pre-trial.
I'm not sure, Judge. I can file a change of address. I do have his actual address being 100 Go Bay Road or Cow Bay Road in Palmona Park, Florida.
Oh, I'm just saying that was on what was on booking and then the pre-trial worksheet. So what says the state?
Your Honor, what we're concerned about is this is a very deceptive time. I believe that he actually went there to try to sell a vehicle and then he sold the vehicle, which is unfortunate for the victim. Also, it is the displaying of a false license, Your Honor, and giving a different name, Your Honor. The concern that the state have is how calculated it is, Your Honor, and we are concerned for the public safety. Not only the safety in regards to a regular stolen vehicle, but also the fact that once the crime occurred with the theft of the vehicle, it was a cross-country trip that happened next. And once stopped, they will try to get away from the officers by giving false information, Your Honor. We are concerned for the public safety and also in regards to public property. We'll defer to the court in regards to the amount of the bond.
Judge, I apologize. I didn't get to complete my bond argument. I was merely answering a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. No, I did. Go ahead.
It's fine. It's fine. Mr. Wilkinson is 54 years old. Sorry, I don't have my notes in front of me. 50. Yeah, it is 54. Forgive me. He's 54 years old. He's been in jail for 232 days now without indictment. Since being in jail, he's suffered various health conditions that have been deteriorating over time. He has a really, bad and getting worse sort of hernia condition that's happening. His legs are turning blue. He suffered a heart attack and had to, be admitted into the hospital. Keeping that in mind, Judge, we don't know when this case might be resolved here in Fulton County. He does want to resolve it as soon as possible, but we're just waiting on the state to do something with the case. In the meantime, Judge, we would ask for a bond of at least, or I should say at maximum $5,000 so we can work with the bail project to maybe get him out of jail. He cannot afford anything at present. So, right now, even the $8,000 total bond will be keeping him in jail. He additionally, works as a mechanic. His family owns a garage, a mechanic's garage in Florida. He'll be able to live with them and work with them should he be released. But again, he's not, a risk to the local community. If we're speaking about Georgia specifically, he will be returning to Florida.
All right. Anything else from the state?
Yeah, what I'm concerned about is lack of community ties to actual Georgia. Plus, this lack of community ties, we are concerned that he will actually return to actually face the charges, Your Honor. That's one thing I would like to add.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. Since you're living in Florida, you can stay out of Georgia unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county. Want to make sure you come back when you have to go to court with a curfew. You have 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're gonna be working, since it's the family mechanics garage, that's fine. You can just make sure you have, submit proof of that to the ankle monitoring company and to Mr. Rowe. No driving unless you have valid license, insurance, and registration. No further contact your co-defendant, Samuel Langdon, Langdon. No further contact with the two alleged victims, Russell Scaffey, Scaffede, and Laura, Laura Durr, Derr. Make sure I got it right. I didn't hear anything about a hold, but we put that in there, that if there's a hold, you have 48 hours to have the ankle monitor put on. So I'll do 4,500 and 500. Best of luck to you, sir.
Who's next?
So do you want to go ahead and bring Robert Ragland out? Because is Mr. Olaf here for Bruce Wallace? Or do we have anything on the officer for?
I been in contact with my officer, Your Honor. The officer was subpoenaed, Your Honor. He and I personally left a voicemail on his personal cell phone, and I emailed him, Your Honor. He's not here right now.
I know he was out on. Let's see. Last time because of sick.
He was out on sick leave, Your Honor.
Right.
So, but he was subpoenaed and it was sent over. But we didn't get anything back once the subpoena was sent over, or even like when I emailed them last night, left a voicemail. Sometimes they say, hey, I'm still not feeling well, something that's going on, they'll let me know.
All right. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Have a good. So we don't know if he's still out on sick leave or.
Not know if he's still on. But what
Anything for Mr. Olaf?
I haven't heard back from him now.
Is he in today? Is he? Do you know? I mean, I know you don't keep up, but do y'all know if he's on trial or anybody?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. I think Ms. Watts emailed him too.
And then
Let's see.
Your Honor, I will say that I am unaware in regards to his current health condition.
Right.
What I will say is, I know he was subpoenaed, Your Honor, and we didn't get anything that was different from him that informed us that he would not hear.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and do this bond hearing. You're Mr. Robert Ragland. So we got its position now. It's just going to be a bond hearing 22 CP 213699, 167 days without indictment. Robert Ragland, arson first degree, aggravated assault, arson in first degree, aggravated assault. 160 days without indictment. Let's see. Do I already have? I think I set a bond already before. Let me get to it. He has a $34,000 good bond as of February the 27th.
Defendant has a total of 26 cycles. Defendant has a theft by taking in 2009, aggravated assault in 2009, interference with government property 2009, criminal damage to property second degree 2009, the misdemeanor battery 2012. He has probation violations in 2013 and 2014, misdemeanor battery 2014, 2 failure to appears in 2014, a possession of cocaine conviction 2018. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Law.
Mr. Ragland is age 39. He has extended family here in the Atlanta area, including his mother and brother who were here this morning in the audience, though they have since left. Before he was incarcerated, he worked as a babysitter full time. The address on his file is good. That's the address of his family, which is 460 Rockwell's. Oh, excuse me. They say a new address would be good for him. 605 Spencer Street, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318. That's the address where he babysits for his sister-in-law, who's a guard at the Fulton County Prison, and his brother. He has been through high school, and he does have medical issues. He had been a victim of a crime earlier where he was shot, so he has difficulties walking. So as this case has been in the system for a while now, we're requesting a reduction from $34,000 to $20,000, $5,000 in each charge.
Right?
Yes, Your Honor. In regards to this case right here, I understand that, we're able to proceed with a preliminary hearing at this time, but, and we do not have, enough information to report. What I am concerned about is the gravity of the situation, Your Honor. It was people in the home at the time, Your Honor. It was an active fire that was happening that had to be put out, Your Honor. I am concerned for the public safety. I'm concerned that, it was a porch fire at this, for this location, and he do have the benefit of being innocent until proven guilty. But we also have, at this stage, a right to try to protect the public as much as possible and also protect the public property. With his history, we are also concerned that he will commit additional crimes and additional felonies. And those are the concerns that we do have. I would object to any decrease in the amount of the bond until we have a preliminary hearing, Your Honor. And then the court can have more information at that time. That is concerns for the state, Your Honor.
All right, and I think Mr. Law is probably going to tell you, sir, that your prelim's been reset till May the 2nd at 9 a.m. All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 905 Hubbard Street. Southwest, no further contact with Edward North, North. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. Yes, supply that to Mr. Law and to the ankle monitoring company, sir. So we'll do 9,000, 5,000, 9,000, and 5,000. Best of luck to you, sir.
Your Honor, I know you probably said it, I just missed it. You did have to stay away from the address and.
Right, 905 Hubbard and Edward North. Still know what to do with the other cases. Mr. Olaf's not.
And I know he is not here, and I know you are not an attorney, but just since we have him here, Your Honor, what I will say in regards to, I'm not sure how the court will proceed. We will reach out to the officer directly, but I just want to let the court know that we haven't heard anything to the contrary, that he is not back up and going.
This was like, how long would they be out? Wasn't it? Somebody said, I don't know. So I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Lau obviously isn't Mr. Olaf's keeper, so he's like, I don't know where he's at.
I can stand in for a release just to reset the date, because we
Okay.
can't really make any arguments other than that.
Right, so that, yeah. Okay, we can get him to bring Mr. Wallace out, and then, I mean, I'm sure Mr. Olaf must be in another courtroom or something. This isn't like, we got great public defenders, and they're usually not just like no show. Yeah. LT, can you bring Mr. Wallace out? Okay, we're just gonna reset. Let's see. And I still went ahead and put this, all of them that are over 200 days emailed, the DA about these needed, on my list. I do that during prelims too.
Thank you.
All right, this is position 1 and 2, 22 CP 211227, Bruce Wallace, 258 days without indictment, burglary in the first degree. 22 CP 211228, Bruce Wallace. Did I say Willis before? It's Wallace, excuse me, 258 days without indictment, burglary in the first degree. It looks like bond was set on these on May the 20th. Go ahead. What says the state?
At this time, the officer is not here, and we are not able to proceed, Your Honor. The officer was properly subpoenaed. The subpoena went out on Wednesday, 12. It was received by a custodian, Your Honor, and the officer, through the process and procedure that we do have, was properly subpoenaed. Last night, I personally, ADA McCulley, did leave a personal message on his voicemail for his personal phone, and I also emailed him. I did not receive a call back.
All right, and this was the officer that was out sick, so we don't know if he or she is still out sick or what. All right, Mr. Lyle, I understand it's kind of last minute. You're just like, oh.
So as the officer has not appeared twice, I understand it was sick leave before, it's very likely sick leave again, and Mr. Olaf's not here. I request a reset. And
All right, so May 2nd at 9 a.m. Mr. Wallace,
am I correct in that's the same officer for both cases?
Yes, it is.
they give you enough time and you can find out if the officer's out. I mean,
What we're gonna do is, we're gonna be getting in contact with this officer today, Your Honor.
Okay.
And we'll be able to know if something do come up, we'll have to reach out to Mr. Olaf.
okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, looks like that's it, right? Yep.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yep. All right, thank you, Mr. Law. We'll be down until what, 1 o'clock.